Hello guys and welcome to a Geeks Review, where, here's the thing, geeks, like talking about movies, TV shows, and anime. And today we have a special one for you with Night of the Living Dead. This whole month we will be looking at certain films of George A. Romero's legacy, starting off with Night of the Living Dead, 1968 versus 1990s. Going on to George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead, and Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. Then going to review Day of the Dead, and finally, for the first time ever, I will be watching Land of the Dead. But hey guys, if you like any of that, check it out, hit that subscribe button, and also if you're watching this before October 2nd, guess what? I'm doing a watch party of Night of the Living Dead over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Department of Adventurers. Come check it out, it'll be a good time. And you know what, let's hop into this review, shall we? 1968's Night of the Living Dead was an independent film directed, written, and photographed by George A. Romero, and was made to be one of the classic creature features that Romero grew up on. Debuting in October 1st, 1968 to a select few theaters in Pittsburgh, this film, made on a budget of $114,000, made over $30 million in its runtime, and was heavily criticized for the gore used in the film. This movie quickly gained a cult following, and in the 1990s was granted the critical acclaim by the Library of Congress for preservation in the National Film Registry. And most of this could be due to the film technically not being copywritten. Now, don't get me wrong, they knew what they were doing. They've already made a few short films at that time. But what happened with Night of the Living Dead was fairly interesting. Originally wanting to be called Night of the Flesh Eaters, during distribution, they found out that there was already a 1964 movie called the same name. So the distributors had to change out the title card to that of Night of the Living Dead. But when they did so, they forgot to add in the copyright mark, meaning this film was not copywritten, and putting it in the public domain, skyrocketing this film to unknown heights as many late-night horror movie marathons, movie theaters, and just TV channels in general could play this film and not have to pay the owners. And this has become a great fight even to today with the creators of this film, as they wish to gain their copyright back. And part of the fight was remakes of certain films, such as Return of the Living Dead and even 1990s. Night of the Living Dead. Now, 1990's Night of the Living Dead was still written by George A. Romero, but actually was directed by Tom Savini, mostly known for his work on the Living Dead series for his makeup artistry. An interesting fact, actually, he was originally supposed to do the makeup for the original Night of the Living Dead, but he was drafted and was put as a war photographer in Vietnam. Now, unlike the original one, this film was criticized heavily for being too similar to the original film to be a pointless remake, and they pushed so hard on this feminist agenda. I just don't know why we need this. But let's put a pin in that, and I will get back to those later. At a base level, both films have an identical story. 7 survivors find themselves in a farmhouse outside of Pittsburgh. Through the night, tragedy will strike, and one by one they'll be taken down, either by the hordes themselves or by each other, tearing at each other's throat, culminating in an ending as the zombies break down the barricades, getting rid of the last bits of safety, and questioning if our hero will survive. And while the original was a product of its time, the remake takes the ideas from the original and changes them ever so slightly to make them a little more interesting. And small things, such as changing the idea of fortifying the house, instead of having it be only Ben, as he must do this work. It's all the survivors except for Cooper who will not help them at all, preferring to stay in the cellar where he claims it's safe. Other things such as Ben, instead of being a no-nonsense, I know what I'm doing leader,
We have got to go this side! Please help me! Please!
Don't you know what's going on out there? This is no Sunday school picnic.
Don't you understand? My brother is alone! No! My brother is not dead!
And the remake is more sensible. He'll listen to people, and he feels like he actually cares about the people around him, even though he doesn't know anything about them. He feels like the last bastion of good people in this chaotic world, as he's the one able to keep the cool head as everything's going to hell. And Barbara, who in the original film was just a damsel in distress bound to die, actually becomes a good asset in this film, as you see her go through the stages of grief after seeing her brother die in front of her, and her too scared to do anything. These small changes build the film to be so much more, and instead of it being errors because Ben wasn't there to help them, or Ben didn't tell them exactly what to do, or they just didn't listen to Ben, it was more of hot-headed moments of where tension was so high they didn't know what to do. Now for both films, they are very much classics, and I love each of them. But between the two, if I had to tell you which one I would say is the true Night of the Living Dead film, that would have to be the 1990s version. That one connects better with things such as Dawn of the Living Dead, Day of the Dead, and Land of the Dead. While the original film feels more like an offshoot where you can put anywhere else. It could stand alone or maybe be connected to something else. But I don't know, guys, you tell me, what did you think of Night of the Living Dead? The original, the remake, have you seen either of them? Go check them out if you haven't. You can actually watch the original version on YouTube here. There's a couple uploads, and I'll put a link down below. And if you haven't seen the Tom Savini Night of the Living Dead, you should definitely go check it out. It's one of my favorite horror films of all time. God, I love the makeup and everything else about it. But you tell me down below, what'd you think of the film? And also, if you are watching this and it is before Friday, October 2nd, 2020, then I have news for you. On the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Department of Adventurers, I am hosting a watch-along of Night of the Living Dead 1968 version. So come along, chat with me, and also if you want to just see more of me or hear my voice more, we do weekly live streams over at Department of Adventurers. I have Fridays, and I'm also the DM of the Department of Adventurers D&D game, hosted every Saturday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Go check it out, it's a great time. And if you want to support this channel, you can go check out our merch store, where even now you can get your own Geek's Dungeon shirt. But with that being said, keep calm, geek on, and I will see you here next week for...